I, Travis Argue, Chair of the live virtual State Plumbing Board meeting of June 17th, 2021. Call it to order at 9:30 a.m. Debbie, will you please call the roll?
Yes, sir. Chair Travis Argue.
Here.
Vice Chair Matthew Roselle.
Here.
Craig Anderson.
Here.
Corey Fraser.
Here.
Thank you, Corey. Melissa Gett. Melissa Gett. Molly Keller.
Here.
Joe Rabold.
Here.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We do have a quorum.
Okay, thank you. Next on the agenda is approval of the agenda. Is there any members who would like to have any changes to the agenda or the order of business? All right, hearing none. Oh, go ahead.
Travis, all right. I noticed there was a typo, and I put it in the chat for Debbie, and I accidentally sent it to everybody. I don't know if that's a problem for approving the minutes. She's aware of it, and she said no problem, so never mind.
Okay, no problem. Thank you. All right, I Chair Argue rule the agenda and order of business approved. Next up is the approval of the draft minutes. Is there anybody who would like to have the draft minutes changed? Hearing none, I Chair Argue rule the draft minutes meetings of April 15, 2021 final. The next meeting date will be August 19th, 2021. Our second agenda item is with Mr. Andy Boulton. Would you please address the public comment?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We have not received any requests for general public comment at this time, but we are going to hold the line open here for just a minute in case there is someone online who wishes to make a general public comment. If there is, go ahead and identify yourself now, please. Hearing none, you are good to proceed.
Okay, thank you. All right. Next up is Chief Andy Skinner. Please address the program update.
Thank you, Chair Argue, members of the board. For the record, my name is Andy Skinner. I'm the Chief Plumbing Program Chief for State of Oregon Building Codes Division. A couple things I have for the board today. One is just kind of an update of where we're at with IAPMO. We are real close to having a final draft from IAPMO, and this final draft is what will go to printing. So hopefully we're on the downhill slide to getting our books and getting those out to the industry. As we all know, that's been a challenge for this code cycle, but there's been a lot of challenges in the last year or so plus. The second thing I'd like to just kind of present to the board, I really haven't talked about this too much in the past, but because of this challenging code change and some of the other challenges that we have with meetings and stuff, for several decades actually, there has been a platform that the plumbing inspector industry and jurisdictional industry has used, and for some of you, you may have heard this term before. It's called the chiefs meetings. I also call that the inspectors meetings, because we've broadened this out to try to encompass all jurisdictions and all plumbing inspectors and building officials, and even in some of these meetings we've had public utility personnel come in, because as we all know, we have some overlap there. But this has been especially helpful during this last year or so. We went to a virtual format, and our participation has actually jumped to over 64 different people that either log on to these meetings or have asked for the minutes to be sent to them. These meetings try and, or I should say, some of the things that happen in these meetings is, jurisdictional issues with projects related to plumbing, code issues, interpretations, just to try and build some consistency and also predictability for the installers out there. And since we went to this virtual format, we've been able to encompass the whole state. So we've had a lot of good turnout on this. There's always a lot of good questions that come in. We've been able to really communicate the new code changes to this group, and hopefully that's getting out to the installers. But as this grows, more and more questions come in, new questions come in about scoping of licensing, interpretations of new code language, how we're going to look at that statewide. And then again, some of the issues that happen in those local jurisdictions are asking other jurisdictions, how do you deal with this? For an example, one of the most common things, and some of you that are inspectors out there have probably heard this numerous times, you go out to a job site and have an installer say, well, I don't have to do this in such and such jurisdiction. Well, we get together in these chiefs meetings. Oh yeah, you do. They do have to do it in my jurisdiction as well. So they're very, very beneficial. I just kind of wanted to relay that, it's been very helpful. It's growing right now, and it's been a great platform to spread the code with not having the books on the street yet. So that's about all I have for the board today. Are there any questions?
I do have a question, Andy. That's a perfect segue into this. I have received a few calls from different jurisdictions, and then we briefly talked about it at the Chiefs meeting Thursday. I forget when it was. But there's some questions in regards to licensing and who can install devices such as grease interceptors, if there's pumps that are outside the 5 feet from the building. Can a contractor as a CCB license and a plumbing business license make those installations, or does it need to be a journeyman plumber? And, looking at the OARs and the ORSs, I was not able to come up with a firm answer on that. There's some of the rules that go to the CCB, direct you to there. So I guess I'm asking, if we could get some help on making that determination on who's able to do that work legally.
Okay, if I may,
I agree with that. Yeah.
So just for clarification, are you asking the division to look into the scoping of the license exemption for sewer installers?
Yes, that is essentially what I've been looking at. I'm not able to find anything in the statute. So if BCD could look into that and get some clarification, that would be helpful to, our jurisdiction. Our plumbing team has asked that question before, and we've gotten other calls from other jurisdictions. So it is something everybody could use. So.
Okay. All right, absolutely. I will get with our team here and dive into it and get back with a report to the board when we have everything collected.
Okay, that would be very helpful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Andy. Okay.
That's all I have.
The next is, okay, thank you, Andy. Next is communications. We have none. We have no appeals. We have no unfinished business. The next would be new business. That'll be with Mr. Andy Boulton.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Last month, the Continuing Education Committee considered 56 applications from 9 organizations. The committee recommended 33 courses for approval and 2 for denial. The committee recommended 18 instructors for approval and 1 for denial. There is additional detail in the matrix included in your board packet. This item will require a motion on whether to approve the committee's recommendations.
Okay, thank you. Would anybody like to make a motion? Kind of looking at you, Matt, over the phone.
Travis, through the chair, I do have a question. Some of these classes are for 2021. These are all for UPC, so this is off of the model code, which is already published. They're not trying to teach us off of the Oregon code. Is that correct?
I believe that there is definitely a good amount of those courses that were model code courses.
Okay. Because we don't have a code book, I just want to make sure that, nobody would be able to design a class until that actually comes out, unless there were no changes in those chapters mentioned. So.
Okay. Again, Matt, would you like to make a motion?
So yeah, I will make a motion to approve these. Well, actually, I want to hold on that. Through the chair, if I can ask Andy a question. Some of these are for the Oregon Plumbing Specialty Code updates, which we don't have that code out yet. Can we approve these without a code? I guess is my question.
All right. If I may, through the chair, for the record, my name is Andy Skinner, Plumbing Program Chief, State of Oregon Building Codes. The straight answer would be yes, because we have communicated to the industry that we can use the current 2017 along with a summary of changes and the interim changes that were adopted October 1st. Both of those documents are available on our website. And as long as they're teaching from those documents, then, the course, they have the material necessary to teach the course. If they're trying to teach strictly out of the UPC, then that could be challenging for those that are taking the class that don't have the current 2021 OPSC. So it just depends on, what I'm saying is it depends on the course content and what they're trying to accomplish.
And the committee is looking at all that, I'm assuming, so.
Yes, absolutely. The committee does their due diligence, and really, since it's a smaller committee, they collaborate very well on this and do a lot of homework. In fact, more than probably is really expected of them. So, especially during the virtual type meetings that we have, so they do vet these out very well.
Okay, thank you. With that, well, first I'd like to thank everybody that's on that committee. It's a lot of work going through these, so. But I would like to make the motion to approve the committee's recommendations for the training courses.
Okay, a motion has been made. Is there any discussion? All right, hearing none, I'll ask Debbie to recall for the roll.
Yes, sir. Joe Bold.
Aye.
Molly Keller.
Aye.
Corey Fraser.
Aye.
Craig Anderson.
Aye.
Vice Chair Matt Roselle.
Aye.
And Chairman Travis Argue.
Aye.
Mr. Chair, the motion passes unanimously.
Okay, thank you. All right, now we'll go next to Andy Boulton for our policy analyst.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This item is a request from Sam Maknouni to review the denial of his application for a reciprocal journeyman plumber license. Excuse me. We have Mr. Maknouni on the line to make a statement and to respond if the board has any questions. Todd Smith, enforcement manager with the division, is also here if there are any questions for him. There is also additional documentation in your board packet. This item will require a motion on whether or not to grant Mr. Maknouni's request for reciprocity.
Okay. Sam, would you like to talk?
Sure. Thank you for the time. Thank you, Mr. Chair, and all the members and everybody in this meeting for the time and opportunity I can present my case. My name is Sam Maknouni, and I'd like to start with my education. When I started plumbing, I was about 15 years old when my father put me in the technical plumbing high school program in country of Iran. That is a program that people choose. High school in Iran, we have to choose majors. So there's mathematics that people choose and become engineers, and there's science that they become doctor, and then there's this program they choose in trades that after this they can get the license, become a contractor, or they can go and higher education and become engineers. This school was at a plumbing field, and I believe it had a wood carpentry field. There was a school, and there was a warehouse, big warehouse, just for plumbing, huge warehouse, and then there was one big other warehouse just for carpentry. They had all the equipments in it, and there was no electrical major in this school. The electrical school was a different school in the other part of town. So this was strictly for plumbing. And we started learning from, first we started learning, we had 1 day of class in just drawing, and then we had 1 day of class only in the workshop. And the rest was the academic mathematics and codes and techniques in classrooms. Our drawing class started with just drawing, basic, teaching us the fundamentals of drawings, and then went to plot maps, and then went to drawing buildings, and then it turned to drawing buildings and then designing the drains and water lines and gas lines and everything else in it. And that was once a week. And once a week we were going to the shop. Our shop started first doing the hand tools and crafts. We had a solid piece of metal that was inch thick, solid piece of metal. We had to cut it and then file it with hand file, and then make it hammer from that. And it was had to be perfect, had to be square, and some people fail in it and had to do it again. So this and then later on we started with welding pipes. Gas pipes in Iran have to be welded all around it. Welding black pipes. Doing cast iron, lead, and oakum. We were melting lead outside on the open area, and then doing the cast iron pipes. Soldering for copper, and also flaring for different applications for refrigeration gases and different applications. And ABS, our ABS was, we would heat the ABS and then push the coupling together. I forgot the term for it, but we didn't use glue. And threading galvanized pipes for water, making threads, and basically a lot more to it. So our workshop was really complete, teaching techniques and everything.
Are you still there?
We may have lost him.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like. You want to give him a few minutes to try to reconnect?
Probably a good idea.
Yeah, I think so too.
Fine. Do I have the sound okay? Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're back on.
Yeah.
Okay.
Did we miss some parts?
Pardon? Yeah, we heard you were talking about working on the copper piping and stuff. So
yes, copper piping, and also making flares connection for gas line, different refrigerant gas system, and also water lines, copper lines, and making threads, and basically everything. And the classroom was learning mathematics, physics, geometry, and codes and calculations for based on tables, water lines, main lines, and gas. Even we were learning about the natural gas system, also adjusting how the regulators work, outside regulators work, and how to adjust them, how to repair them. Basically, everything that a plumber had to be ready to come outside and become a plumbing contractor and open a shop. We were getting ready for that, and we had a opportunity and path to go and continue education and become engineers. So it had dual purpose. I graduated with 96 units, and I presented my diploma. And I was talking to Mr. Skinner, sent me a requirement that mentioned that a minimum education academic has to be 576 hours. And I got 96 units, and I did a little calculation. If we say each unit is about 1 hour per week in the class, and we have 4 weeks in the, let's say minimum we have 4 weeks in the month, so 4 hours a month, let's say, and then we have 3 months. So let's say each unit is about 12 hours for semester. And if we multiply 12 by 96 units that I passed, so it's total of 1,152 hours. So the funny part is if I divide that by 2, coincidental becomes 576 hours. Exactly to the dot. So 576 hours, which is exactly double my hours, about double of what is required by the state. And that is the part that I want to mention, that I got my education in this field, and I was at the early age of about 15, I started this. So I also would like to talk about my special situation, because I've been talking to state about the path to getting licensed, and then they always told me I have to have this apprenticeship program. And I was told that the only way I can pursue with this is to get it from Reciprocal state, and Idaho was one of the options, and that's what I did. I was told from different people. One of them is Miss Becky that works in the state, and one of them was Mr. Ronnie, also confirmed that in email, and also was a lady that I don't have a name. She told me, and I was gonna ask him to come and witness, but the state doesn't deny that people in the past, they got this license without apprenticeship from Reciprocal state, because when we come back from when we come from a reciprocal state like Idaho, they require 8,000 hours minimum for journeyman, and if person doesn't have apprenticeship program, they require double time. So I had to prove I have 16,000 hours work experience to bypass the reciprocal. And also Oregon's law says you need to have apprenticeship, but then it says other, and it says work experience and other. It goes in depth, so it's kind of it's not clear, but it says other work experiences. So all these people in the state office, they read this law, and then they will say yes, you could get it. And it looks like they I don't know if they were what was the situation, but they were telling me this information. But when it came to me, I was denied. And then they told me I was the first person who's denied for this, and they agreed, and they confirmed that other people got it before me with the same situation without apprentice program, and same boat, but they got through, and I couldn't get through. They realized that this is not probably what they want to do, and looks like I'm the first one who's denied, and the state didn't deny that and confirm that, and that's why I didn't ask for any witnesses, because that's the fact. And that's what I would like to say. So if everybody got the different treatment, I like to ask for the same and fair treatment with me too. Maybe in the future, nobody should be informed that yes, Idaho is a path, so people don't make decisions. So because I had to move to Idaho and work in Idaho, take the test. I took the written test in Idaho and I passed with the 80% on the written test, and I took the practical test also. The Idaho has practical test, and I had to work over there for a minimum of 6 months with 1,000 hours. And so these decisions I made based on the information I was given. And also the law is kind of confusing. It says in the application that only Washington reciprocates for electrical. They cannot bypass the apprenticeship. So in the application, it does not say anything about that apprenticeship is must, but it says about Washington. So this is confusing. Everybody can read this and get confused, and the staff is giving this information, and people like me, I made this decision. I'm the first person. It was not. And I just want to ask board members to please consider my case. It's a unique case. I have the education from a country, different country, but it was complete education, very intense in plumbing field, and which is taught us the very good techniques and codes and work using our hands in this workshop. That's one part, and then the other part is that I'm asking that I be treated the same fair way, and the other part of that based on the information given to me. So I made these decisions, and also if it was even treatment, I'm asking to be the same treatment. Also, I'm asking that the information was given to me. So with respect to that information and decisions that I've made, so I be considered with your consideration. So please consider this in a fair way, and I'll just we'll wait to see what your decision is with respect to you all, and I'll just put it in your hands. Thanks very much.
All right. I'm going to start off with a couple of questions for you. This is Chair Argue. When you were studying your code, as you referred, what code did you guys study?
I believe it was international codes or mixture of UPC also. We had tables. Everything was with a lot of things was with tables. Some formulas we had, and then basically was mathematics. And so that question, I don't know 100%, but I suspecting that it was international mostly.
So it was the IPC is what you're referring to? International Plumbing Code?
Yes.
Okay. And when you went to Idaho to work, how did you get approved for their licensing? What was the technique that you used there? What was your reference, or how did you get approved for an Idaho license?
I presented my work hours from a licensed plumber from California that signed that I worked for him. I worked since 1999 in the plumbing field, and that was approved for. I believe I had a lot more. I had enough hours to show, maybe even more than enough, but I proved that I had 16,000 hours.
Okay. And did you submit your training records to the state of Idaho and ask to go in that way, or did you travel through with double the hours?
I'm sorry. Could you repeat that question? I didn't understand.
What what I'm asking you is when you submitted your application to the state of Idaho, did you reference that you had double the required work hours, or did you submit that you had the approved training hours?
I submitted that I have double the required work hours.
Okay. So have you looked at, or have you talked with Andy or anybody from the state about just getting your regular application submitted and whether you would be have an avenue that way to get a set for the journeyman test for the state of Oregon?
I was confused about all this, and I thought only path I have is to come and get it from Reciprocal, and you would decide if I have to take a test or not. And if I have to sit down for test, I am okay with that, and I'll be a happy person to sit down for test and take that test. And if I have to bring a new application, sure, I could bring it. Absolutely, I bring the application. Or if this today could be decided on taking tests, that's fine. Absolutely.
Okay. So, Andy, I would like for your input in this department. My understanding is that did his application get denied for reciprocity? Is that correct?
What, Andy S. or Andy B?
I'm sorry, Andy Skinner. I'm sorry.
That's okay, Chair Argy. Thank you. Through the chair, for the record, my name's Andy Skinner. So I'd kind of like to just broaden the answer a little bit, maybe hopefully to give the board some understanding of the processes that we do have for out-of-state applicants into the state of Oregon. There's actually two ways that somebody can come in to Oregon and be approved. One is through reciprocity, which is before the board today. The application was filled out. We have two states that are reciprocity with, and that's Idaho and Montana. But that pathway, I should say, is a little bit narrower than the equivalency pathway. The equivalency pathway is in Rule 918-695-0030. So there's two separate applications. Again, the applicant is trying to come through the reciprocity, which is a narrower path. And what I'd like to do is read a portion of the agreement that we have with Idaho, which might help the board understand what they're looking at with this applicant. And then you can have a further discussion about the equivalency path if you feel that's necessary. So our agreement with Idaho states that reciprocity applicants must have qualified for their journeyman plumber certificate of occupancy or license by passing an examination in Oregon or Idaho. In this case, we're talking about Idaho. And by working a minimum of 4 years, 7,700 hours in plumbing trade under direct supervision of a licensed journeyman plumber and completion of 4 years of plumbing apprenticeship vocational education, which is 576 hours of classroom time, period. Then it goes on to state, if a reciprocity applicant qualified for journeyman plumber certificate of competency or license by passing an examination and by obtaining experience and education determined to be equivalent by the licensing state, the state reviewing the reciprocity application shall determine whether the applicant's education and experience are equivalent to the state's experience and education standards. So kind of what that's stating is that they either have had to gone through an apprenticeship program to have reciprocity with Oregon or submitted enough experience and education to meet that reciprocity state's equivalency to get that license. In this application, the individual, in order to get Idaho's license, submitted double the work hours on the job and did not submit any. So the path of reciprocity is very narrow. Now, path of equivalency in OAR 918-695-0030 gives the board a little bit more flexibility to look at other education and on-the-job experience to qualify to sit for the test. So reciprocity bypasses the test. Equivalency, the board looks at information to allow somebody to sit for the test. Two separate applications. Again, the application before the board today was the reciprocity application. As was given to the board today information, that was done through Idaho with 16,000 hours of on the job. So I just kind of wanted to make it clear of those two paths what the agreement is with Idaho, which is the same as Montana, and what we look at when somebody is trying to gain reciprocity and bypass the test. Hopefully that gives some clarity. If not, I'm willing to answer any questions that the board might have.
Thank you, Andy. Andy Boulton, I'm going to ask you if you have any comments or things that you would like to add to what Mr. Skinner just said.
I do not. Thank you.
Okay. Is there anybody else on the board that would like to discuss anything or ask him any questions?
Corey Frazier through the chair. Just a I guess inquiry, curiosity. So Mr. Maknouni mentioned that there were other people who were able to get their licensure through the reciprocity process. Do we know what those unique circumstances were that enabled them to qualify that don't apply here? What the difference is?
I guess that would, I don't know what he's referring to. I don't know if he's referring to just a straight reciprocity situation. Would you like to answer that question if you know it, Sam?
I was told that people like in the same situation without reciprocity, they have gone through and got their license. And I was told that the reciprocity, it doesn't come to play. I'm sorry, the apprenticeship. Apprenticeship doesn't come to play if I come with the reciprocal state of Idaho, because if I don't have apprenticeship, they're going to require double the hours, 16,000 hours instead of 8,000 hours, and it's not going to be a problem. And this information was given to me at least 3 different staff employee of the state building code division, and one of them is even in the writing an email, Mr. Ronnie, and they also confirmed that other people, they got it and they have these licenses they are already issued to them with the same situation without apprenticeship program. But when it came to me, they saying that they understood that it shouldn't be like that, and they want to change policy. I'm the first person. I have different licenses in the state, and that's why they check my other licenses, and then they raised the issue with me. I was the first one because I had other licenses, and that's why I believe it was unfair treatment, and under the same law and same rules, and suddenly a rule change when it comes to me.
Okay. So let me ask you this question, Sam. Would you entertain the idea of submitting your application to the state of Oregon with the credentials that you have with your schooling? Because it sounds like you meet the qualifications for the state of Oregon through your academic training. Correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Skinner, but it sounds like that's kind of the most, like you're saying, that reciprocity is such a narrow avenue and the application is such a broad avenue.
Through the chair, yes, that's correct, Chair Argue. This is Andy Skinner, sorry. Again, the two pathways we have is the equivalency pathway, which, as you have mentioned, Chair, argue that you feel with the information provided that he may qualify for that path. But as we've read through the agreement with Idaho, the reciprocity path is not a pathway that has been met per the reciprocal agreement.
I think it would be smart for both parties here to go down a path that, it would appear that, with the information that's been given to us, that's the wiser of the two choices, and that would be something that he could fill out his application and submit his credentials, which he's pretty well explained it to us and has it written out in the board packet. I don't see where that would not be the smarter way to go. Does anybody else have any opinions on that? I'm asking the board.
Yeah, Craig Anderson, through the chair. It is clear to me that through your training in around California, your time in Idaho, that education, hours worked, is, met through what would be, the non-reciprocal, avenue. I think that Chair Argue has given you a nice suggestion, and I would think that would be a better way to present yourself. Filling out that state of Oregon application, being very, diligent with your chronological path would make sense.
Okay. Thank you, Craig. Anybody else have any statements? Okay. Hearing none. I think I'm talking to you, Sam. I think we have kind of given you the answer to an issue that you have for the reciprocity not working. I think we have considered, and I can speak for myself, that I feel confident that if you go down the normal path of application to the state of Oregon, that is your best bet. And then there's not the board changing themselves against the rules. And that's what I'm hesitant to do, is to not follow the statutes and rules of the state of Oregon. So we're going to make a motion, but that's where I'd like to lean to talk to you, and have you understand that that's what we would like for you to do. And I would welcome you to talk with us. But that's my opinion. So I would like for your rebuttal, if you would, Sam.
Yes, thank you again, Mr. Chair. Yes, if I have to take a test, and the only complications, will it be possible? So don't have to come back again on the board, because the time that I have to wait till August, and just this board will approve that I just present my application and move forward with test, so I can move on with that and then complete that in a timely manner, so I can go on with my life and my family.
Okay.
That would be appreciated. Also, if board can see that there was other people that they got this and all the information. So I prefer if reciprocity goes to board approved the reciprocity, so I could be I could be move on sooner. But if that's not what board decides on, then if I could take a test and then it'd be this board that could approve that I can just submit the application so I don't have to wait for 2 months more. Thank you.
Okay. I don't mean to interrupt you, but so you understand, if you fill out your application and your credentials are correct, answer me if I'm wrong, Andy Skinner, but I believe you wouldn't have to come in front of the board again. You would just be like any other applicant that comes to the state of Oregon to fill out their application for verification to sit for the test. And so whatever timeline that would take would be the matter of time that it took to get your application in and get it reviewed and set up a schedule for a test. Am I not right there, Andy Skinner?
Through the chair, for the record, my name is Andy Skinner. That is correct, Chair Argue.
Okay. So does that answer your question, Sam?
My education is from different country, and they didn't have any opinion on it. I'm sorry?
You've given us information, and we've reviewed it in our board packet. And there has been an indication by the people that are talking and have reviewed this that it looks like you have the ability to get through the application process. Now, I would believe that would be your smartest bet. And like I said, that way, we as a board, it's not a good idea for us to go against what the laws or rules of the state are. And in circumstances, we make decisions. But in this decision, there's really no reason for us to try to have to make a decision, sir, if you already have what appears to be the means to already go through the normal path. So that's what I would like for you to do. And like I said, as long as you completely understand that, then I'm going to make a motion before I make that motion, I want you to understand what we're telling you.
I believe, thank you, Mr. Chair. I believe that you are trying to, if I'm understanding correctly, looks like you are approving my education, and as long as I bring the new application with the equivalent application and I can take a test, then it shouldn't be any problem. I can move forward, and it's going to be approved on my education. Correct?
Okay, so I don't want you to put words in my mouth, but what I'm stating is that because there's another avenue that appears to be the proper avenue for you to go, which would be the application, the normal application route. It appears from what we've been told, I'm not a state official. I'm not one who reviews your packet and reviews your hours and everything. That's the division for licensing. You're asking us to make an exception to the normal. And that's why I'm hesitant to do that with going against the rules or laws of the state of Oregon. I'm asking you to go down this other road, which has been indicated, and please listen to what I say, it's been indicated that you will meet the criteria. If anybody believes anything outside of that, I would like for them to talk and speak now so that I'm not saying something that's appropriate. Okay. Hearing none. Do you understand what we're trying to ask you to do now?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Then I chair argue. I'm going to make a motion to disapprove the request by Sam Maknouni because he does not meet the minimum requirements to have the equivalent experience in education under the agreement. We feel, and this is into my motion, I feel that you have the ability to go the normal route as any other applicant would to obtain their state of Oregon plumbing license. Okay? There's been a motion. Is there any questions or rebuttal?
Molly Keller through the chair. I do have a little bit of a concern that Sam was told that he could do this route by staff, and he has emails that kind of prove that he was told this. So that's a little upsetting and maybe concerning that, you know, he went through this process that he had clarified and was told to do this, went through this whole process and then was denied. That makes me a little uncomfortable with, and I get it, right? There's OARs and we don't want to necessarily make exceptions to the OARs because then it sets a precedent, but it is still pretty concerning to me that he was told by staff that he was on the right path and to go to Idaho and do what he did.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else have any comments or questions? Okay, hearing none, I'm going to ask Debbie to call for the roll, please.
Yes, sir. Joe LeBeau,
Aye.
Molly Keller,
Aye.
Corey Fraser,
Aye.
Craig Anderson, Craig Anderson,
Aye.
Vice Chair Matt Roselle,
Aye.
Aye.
Chair Travis Argue.
Aye.
Mr. Chair, the motion passes unanimously.
All right, thank you. There is no further business, and this meeting is adjourned at 10:22 a.m. Thank you, everyone.